First, can I ask you, is a ceasefire in effect right now?
Yes, it is. I think right now it just went into effect, and we are waiting for the cabinet meeting of the government of Israel to receive the in-depth detail and the fine letters of the discussions that were in the last 2 days. And afterwards, we really hopeful we'll be able to sign at least the first stage of the peace plan of Trump.
Are you saying we can expect an approval from the cabinet?
I think so. I think Prime Minister Netanyahu has our backing. He's got the majority in the cabinet to pass this deal, but it's very important to discuss in depth. Some of the questions are major, with a lot of hope and excitement for the return of the hostages. Israelis are having a very difficult day as well. It means that hundreds of terrorists, convicted terrorists with blood on their hands who have murdered innocent children and women and men, some of them have participated in the 7th of October massacre, will be released back into society with no restriction. Think about the families of the victims of those terrorist attacks and how they feel today. It's a very difficult day for our society, but with that difficulty, we have made so many concessions to make sure that we choose a diplomatic path to bring back our hostages and to achieve the goal of the war. Anytime we had that path, Israel chose it. We always wanted peace and stability.
No doubt a very difficult day, but will the cabinet agree to the hostage exchange that's on paper right now, including some of the details that you just mentioned?
Well, I do believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu has the majority. It is important to have a discussion because some of those names are vile, monstrous people who committed horrendous crimes that, it's difficult to even talk about.
Have you agreed on the actual list of names of prisoners to be released?
So some have been discussed, particular names, but that will be brought in the cabinet meeting. All the details about more concessions and the discussions and compromise that we still need to make are going to be discussed in the next couple of hours.
Curious as to whether Israel is in contact with Hamas and whether you know where the hostages are and at what point we will start seeing some of the hostages come out of Gaza and back onto Israeli soil.
If this deal will be signed, we expect them, at least the 20 live hostages, to be back already on the weekend in the loving arms of their family. And that would be incredible news. As President Trump put through his plan, it's meant to go through 72 hours for the release of the entire hostages. We hope that will still be the deal. But as I said, the small details and the changes will be addressed and talked in the next couple of hours.
Now, Deputy Foreign Minister, you confirmed a moment ago that the ceasefire is in effect. How long will the bombing be stopped? How long will the ceasefire be in effect? Is it just those 72 hours that you mentioned, or will it take into account further negotiations on other parts of the plan?
Well, President Trump's peace plan is a great plan. And the fact is that the entire international community have agreed to it, including Israel, including the Palestinian Authority. Everybody understands that this peace plan is the path towards peace and stability. Israel said outright, yes, it agreed to President Trump's plan. The Palestinian Authority agreed to it, but unfortunately, Hamas hasn't completely agreed to it now. The first stage is going into effect, and we are hopeful that it will continue to the second stage of that as well. But it's still yet and early to discuss. Hamas wants maybe to make changes, maybe to talk about the small details. But the fact is that we are committed for this discussion. And I think that President Trump and his approach, the pressure that he's been putting on Hamas, has shown results.
Do you know anything about a President Trump visit? Are you expecting him to arrive anytime in the next day or two?
Well, I've heard some of these reports as well. We've heard the reports of his coming. I think he truly deserved to come and be part of the signing of it. He has such a huge part in it.
When do you expect the signing ceremony?
Well, it's still yet to talk about it, but in the next couple of hours after the cabinet meeting, all of the details will be revealed.
You mentioned that Hamas was there were several questions surrounding Hamas's intentions, and I'm curious if you think Hamas might be ready at this point to put down its weapons.
Well, this is the second part of the peace plan of President Trump. Everybody accepted it. Qatar accepted it. Turkey accepted it. The Palestinian Authority accepted it. There is no role a terrorist organization like Hamas can play, not, through civilian power and not through military power. They don't want peace. They don't want stability. They want death and murder. It's written on their charter, the complete obliteration of the state of Israel, murdering all the Jews in Israel and out. Their leadership have declared time and time again in the media that whenever they have the opportunity to commit the atrocities of the 7th of October, the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, they will commit it again and again and again. You cannot have a terrorist organization part of a future of stability and peace. Even the Palestinian Authority has accepted that. And so I really hope, that Qatar and Turkey and President Trump will continue to put pressure on Hamas to accept the second stage as well.
Will Israel be satisfied if the points in the Trump peace plan pertaining to Hamas members are agreed to by Hamas members? Will Israel be satisfied at that point?
Sorry, with what?
With the points pertaining to Hamas members, that they be given, exit, that they go to other countries, that they put down their weapons and so on. Will that be enough to satisfy Israel?
Well, look, the second stage of the peace plan is very outlaid. It's very explained as well. If part of that is an exile of Hamas leadership, it is part of the plan. But we have already said yes to that. We've said yes to that. The Turkish said yes to that. The Jordanian, the Qatari, and the Americans. And so, we are willing, and we have made major concessions throughout the last 2 years to walk through the diplomatic path and not war. Every time we chose a war, it was because we were left with no other choice to bring back our family members home and to dismantle Hamas. We have been through a huge national tragedy, one that any country, reasonable country, sensible country that wants to defend its citizens would have acted exactly the same way.
Yes. Deputy Foreign Minister, we saw scenes in Tel Aviv earlier of people celebrating, and I'm curious just as to what you're feeling. Are people living in Tel Aviv and in broader Israel happy about this agreement, happy that the hostages are coming home, and will they want this ceasefire to be lasting, and will you back them on that?
Well, this is the guidance of the Prime Minister and the government of Israel that have paved the path towards it. I mean, for us, it's a breath of air, finally, after 2 years that we've been battling and fighting to bring our family members back home. Our entire nation is celebrating, feels like maybe soon, just in a few days, we'll be able to start a healing process that we weren't able to even start. We try to keep our expectation low because we've been disappointed in the past as well, because we're dealing with a terrorist organization, with Hamas. But, the entire nation is very joyful. But I have to say that with that, there's a lot of heavy-hearted and very mixed feeling for the release of those murderers and the families of the victims who are going through terrible time, knowing that the people who murdered their loved ones will be released back into society with no restrictions.
Yes, about 2,000 jailed Palestinians is the number that is being reported, that you said has been agreed to. Is Israel...
Convicted terrorists, it's important to know. These are convicted terrorists with blood on their hands who committed some of the most horrendous crimes you can ever imagine.
Is the army ready to pull back to at least the first line agreed to?
Yeah, everything that President Trump put in a line, we have accepted. It seems like Hamas have actually tried to push that and to negotiate more. We're willing to make more concession. As I said, Israel have always taken the path through peace and stability and the diplomatic path to gain that.
Deputy Minister, just final question, and briefly if you would. You've always criticized some Arab countries for not putting enough pressure on Hamas. What made the difference this time around?
I think that the pressure that President Trump put on them as well, and the way that he's been conducting. President Trump has been very effective. He doesn't care about the process. Okay, he cares about the end results. And that kind of path have shown and proven to be very effective, whether it was the pressure he put on Hezbollah, on Lebanon, that brought that ceasefire, whether it's with Iran, whether it's with India and Pakistan, or, Congo and the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. And here in Israel as well, we can feel that.
Yes.
He understands who's the victim and who is the aggressor, and he puts
Deputy
pressure
Foreign
on the
Minister,
aggressor
we're out
to
of time,
stop.
but thank you so much for giving us your time.